There's a value in networking.
I like in-person dealing more now with the shows.
There was a lot of foul activity going on, and no one's talking about it.
I feel like I see less patience in the hobby today. And I want to get your thoughts on it. When you hear of the large dollar amounts now around PMGs, what do you think?
What it takes for someone to spend that much money on any card.
Fanatics did something tonight I had never heard about. They have a lottery.
We got you on the line.
Oh my goodness, we're both on the line.
I don't think that the fact that they did Be Friends and Jackass is going to have any impact on how they treat sports cards.
You got to let the people know who you're rolling with, man.
Well, obviously I'm rolling with that B.
What's up, everybody? Today is Memorial Day, Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I'm very excited. I wanted to have this conversation for quite a while. I'm very excited to have Sam, the sports card collector, here. Let me introduce Samuel. Samuel, how you doing?
What's going on, brother?
What's going on? How you doing today? Good holiday?
A good holiday. It was a day like administrators. I'm an administrator. I'm an assistant principal. So we tend to use our holidays when we're not supposed to be in the building to get some work done at home. So, it was a relaxing day of like putting in some observation data, watching my daughter play in the front yard, doing some water play activities, you know what I mean, while the wife relaxed. So, pretty much a low-key day. All
right, that's good. That's what Memorial Day is all about to me, low-key. Let's jump into a lot of people probably already know you, but if they do not know your background, let people know about where Sam grew up, kind of where you're from, and then how you got introduced to the hobby.
So I'm from North Philly, originally, born and raised, 23rd and Diamond, Raymond Rosen Projects, and 6th and Oxford. My family moved from 23rd and Diamond to 6th and Oxford when I was born. I still claim 23rd and Diamond, even though like I was still a part of that neighborhood, watching my uncle play basketball, playing basketball there, hanging out with relatives. So many memories around that time. But North Philly through and through. I collected as a kid. Like every kid in my neighborhood, that 5 to 10 block square radius was all black and brown. At Ludlow Elementary School, we all got into the hobby one way or the other, whether it was through our like older siblings or hearing, old timers at the barbershop, because before we got like the thorough the fades, you had to go to our neighborhood barbershop.
Right. And let the old heads, like barbershop conversation.
Yeah. Let the old heads give us those low cut tapes, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And you just heard those conversations about cards, and I just got involved into the hobby when I was around like 8 or 9, and it was a great time. Michael Jordan was on top of the world. We were all searching for MJ cards. We were in the junk wax era. None of us knew anything about that. None of us understood the lingo, like insert rookie. It was just like, I got all the MJs in the neighborhood and I got the best, like we didn't understand vintage cards. I didn't see my first vintage card until, my neighbor, Josh Perez, showed me his 1968 Hank Aaron card. And I fell in love with vintage cards, but I didn't have access to them because, the only time I really got cards was, we didn't have like local hobby stores. Like that wasn't a part of our experience. So collecting was centered around going to like Toys R Us in Port Richmond.
All retail.
Yeah. And it wasn't, or like Kmart during that time, like Kmart was out, So that was our like hobby experience in my neighborhood, and mom was like, all right, you can get a pack today. And, ripping some hoops, NBA hoops, some Flair. Whenever you get a chance to get like an old 80s pack of Flair, you thought you were on top of the world. And mainly like a lot of baseball. Baseball was very heavy in my neighborhood for kids who collected in the hobby. There was just an access of like baseball cards. So, and then when I turned like 12 or 13, I said this to Peter Pac-Man. When I turned like 12 or 13, I like packed my cards up in a shoebox and like threw them in the trash because like, you know, I couldn't be a kid anymore and life was like
Life started taking over. Right?
Yeah, life and, you know, the ups and downs of struggles of what my parents was going through, my father not being in my life no more. So, you know, it was like I was teetering on the fence of like being in the streets, but like I still wanted to be a good kid because I wasn't like a tough guy. I wasn't no like gangster, but you know, that's the stuff that I was exposed to and I almost succumbed to it. You know, I always told myself, like, I think back to that day when I boxed my cards up and threw them away. I always told myself, if I ever have a chance to do this again, I would do it again. And like when I turned 19, I briefly like came back, but I wasn't fully there. Like when I was in prep school in Connecticut, my friend gave me a trapper keeper of like 90s basketball cards. And there was this one vintage card in there, rookie Calvin Murphy. I still have that card. And I like just set it to a side and, you know, college, playing basketball, life, getting married, you know, being a professional. And then we go through a global pandemic. You know, I'm reading a lot of books, spending time with family. And it's like, one day I just go inside my closet upstairs in the spare bedroom and pull out these like cards that I bought at like a thrift store. And I start opening them up. And then all the memories came back. And, you know, I started out like looking online, seeing what was going on in the space because I understood like we living in a different world. And it's not like I could go outside on my stoop and show my cards, or I can walk into the lunchroom at Penn Treaty, you know, where we started, you know, operating in a space with kids who didn't look like us and learning about their experiences collecting cards and getting into hockey cards. So I couldn't do that. Everything was online. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to sell cards. I'm going to make a ton of money selling cards. But that just didn't jive with me because, you know, I'm an educator at heart. Every day I pour into kids. I support my teachers with their instruction. And I was just like, I don't want to sell cards. That's not what I want to do. And that wasn't my experience coming up when I was collecting as a kid. We didn't talk about cards to make money. Like we heard the old timers say, hey, hold on to that card. It's going to work. It's going to be worth a lot of money one day.
Always.
It wasn't, It wasn't one of those things. It was like, oh, I'm going to make a ton of money. So I just like did some soul searching and, you know, the sports card collector was born and the hobby experience was born. And here I am today.
That's good. Good.
So that's the short version. The short, long version.
Good to hear your story there. So tell me more about playing basketball. What position did you play? What did you play at?
So I played at Benjamin Franklin. You know, I got into some trouble when I was in high school, got sent to placement. I was on probation. I was in the system. You know, went to a bunch of disciplinary schools. Then when I finally somewhat got my life together, I finished my high school career in Philadelphia at Kensington High School. But I was still like trying to find my way. I was still like in the streets a little bit. Wasn't doing anything too crazy because I had the mindset. I understood. I saw what happened to my brother and him spending all the majority of his life in prison. And then I saw what happened in my neighborhood. And I was like, now I want to be smarter than that. If I'm going to participate and engage in this lifestyle, I'm going to be smarter than that. So I took the stance of just like learning from everybody. But then my best friend got murdered. And I realized that, you know, I wasn't invincible. And
How old
I
were
also
you?
understood
How old were you when your friend died? How old were you?
I was 17.
Okay.
I realized I wasn't invincible. I realized that just as quick as I could take someone's life, someone could take my life. And I was like, it's not worth it. You know what I mean? And I think that the thing that changed my life was seeing the look on my best friend Will's mom's face, and seeing her seeing him in a casket. And I told myself, am I okay with my mother seeing me in the casket because someone took my life? And I said no. And you know, I don't know what it was, but it's that old saying, and it's something I tell my students: you never know who's watching you. And one random day when, like, you know, my basketball eligibility ran out in Philadelphia, I couldn't play another year of high school basketball. I got a phone call from this guy named Wayne Simone in Connecticut, who was like, I heard about you, and I want to offer you an opportunity to come play, you know, basketball in Connecticut. And I was like, sure, you know. Went on a couple of visits out there, and it turned into college. You know, I decided to go to a D3 school because going to prep school would prepare me for life. It prepared me for any path that I wanted to take, and I understood that I needed to rely on my education because on any given moment, I could tear my ACL, something can happen. And, you know, I had a pretty good, successful career. I'm not gonna say I was the best player in the country, but I rubbed shoulders with a lot of good players in the early 2000s, and I had my moments. And there was one time at this top 100 camp when we had like I want to say it was like four players who was in the top 25 during that time.
Okay.
And one of them was by the name of Gary Forbes. He went to Virginia, UMass, and I destroyed him. And overnight, I was the best player in the camp. So I had my moments, but I always knew that I wanted to go to a small school because I didn't have like a dream of like playing in the NBA. I wanted to play professional basketball, but I wanted to like travel the world playing it because my uncle did it.
Okay.
He was one of the best players in the city in the early 80s, mid 80s. He did it, and you know, I learned a lot from his experience, and I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do. So, you know, I was a small forward. I played inside, outside. I'm 6'6", 6'5", 6'6".
Okay, I thought you were taller.
Yeah, I could jump. I could run the floor. You know, I was versatile. So like I could post up smaller players, and I can go by taller players. You know what I mean? So it was good. It was a good. I still play to this day. I play at Lifetime. Yeah, I play at Lifetime Fitness. And I play in this, I'm not 40, I'm 38. But
Okay.
These guys let me play in this 40 and over league. So, you know, I do that with a bunch of guys who are like, they're professionals, families, and, you know, they still got an itch for the game. So I play with them.
Very cool, man.
It's fun. Yeah.
I appreciate you sharing that story. It's good to know people's background. That's why I usually ask these questions. And I think coming from a big city, no matter if you're from Philly, Chicago, LA, New York, there's a bunch of cities you can name. A lot of us grew up in a similar way, you know.
Yeah.
There are people that I grew up with that are no longer alive today for whatever story.
Yeah.
You know, for whatever reason. There are people that like you talk about older guys pulling you aside and talking to you. A lot of my father's friends would do that. And my father had a knack for hanging out. I think it was from his childhood, right? He would hang out with guys way older than him. I mean, when he was 40-some years old, he was hanging out with 65, 70-year-old guys because they had something to tell you. No matter what their educational level was, it was about life experience. And so they would drop some pearls of wisdom in my ears a lot about different things and what to look forward to in life and what I represented for them, you know. Something they could not do, but they knew that next generation and a generation after me, which is my children, now your children now, it was important for us to represent ourselves a certain way. I mean, I remember getting feedback from some of my grandmother's friends, people that she grew up with, some of my cousins and stuff, about how you pronounce your words and enunciate things and how you carry yourself and even how you wear your clothes, what your haircut's looking like. And it's a bunch of stuff that people would lay on you that we're in our late 30s or mid 40s. We pull back on that, you know? It's it's
definitely
the spoken history kind of that we get.
Yeah. No, it's an oral history. It's I call it, and I use this term all the time in a hobby. It's a human capital. Every day I pour into human beings, and I go even harder simply because, in terms of pouring into human beings, because I'm a father myself, and every day I'm trying to evolve, become a better man, a better husband, a better father, and most importantly, show my children the one who is in my life every day, and then the ones who are far from me and going through the struggles with having access to them, just another way to see me and see who I am, as opposed to what people may tell them.
That's right.
And that's another story for another day. But that's just been my journey. Trial and error, learning, and just being able to look myself in the mirror and hold myself accountable. Despite my shortcomings and my flaws.
Yep.
That's what I aspire to every day as an educator, husband, father, and just a human being. And I use cards to spread that human capital that I hold in high regard, because I think if we all take the opportunity to pour into each other, we have a clear understanding of not even respect, because everybody has their own definition of respect. I think we start to have a clear understanding of dignity and our inherent value as human beings, because we're all born with dignity. The goal is, do we nurture it every day? And do we have the tools to nurture it every day? And, besides being an educator and using, these things, that's how I nurture my own dignity. That's how I showcase who I am, and I use it as an avenue to connect with others and participate and engage in their hobby experience, whether it be just collecting, whether it be investing, or whether it be just enjoying cards.
Sam, you're talking about that overall community, man.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about.
And sometimes I feel like most people think oh, it's pie in the sky, but I don't know. I think it's just something I naturally believe in, because that's how it was. That's how that was my hobby experience when I was a kid. In that 5 to 10 block radius of kids who collected in my neighborhood. And then when we all got bused to Penn Treaty, that world expanded even more. And now I'm participating in a space with kids who don't look like me. And clearly we understand that we're different because of our skin color. And the world outside of that school didn't want kids who look like me there. But we had this conduit through cards that allowed us to learn about each other, allowed us to peel back the layers of that construct of oh, you're a black kid from North Philly and I'm a white kid from Fishtown. You know what I mean? And oh, we're card collectors. And oh, I got this cool Wayne Gretzky card, and now I'm collecting, hockey cards. It was at 12 years old, 13 years old, the way I'm talking about that now, I couldn't articulate that.
Oh, none of us could. Yeah,
so but now, reflecting on those things and writing the hobby blogs that I write about random cards that's in my collection, and thinking about those experiences, my hope is that, and I'm like Peter Pac-Man. I talk to him a lot. He's one of my hobby goats, and it's not even about who follow me directly on my journey, but it's more about just follow the experience. I don't care if you follow me, but connect to the experience, because I guarantee there's going to be something that resonates with you.
I agree.
Yeah. So
yeah, I think very highly of Peter. I had a chance to meet him, talk to him. We talked a little bit before that, but I definitely wanted you on to tell your story, man, because I've already learned some things here in the first 20 minutes that I did not know, but I knew we were going to have a great conversation and touch on many different things
No, I appreciate that, and gratitude to you for like seeing me, and I try to like show gratitude to everybody who supports me on this journey, whether it's like commenting on, if they comment on a post, I reply to it and say thank you, or if they share some personal connection, you know, I try to like honor that, and because people are giving their time, you know, and time you can't get that back. So I just want to like celebrate that and acknowledge that to anybody who supports me.
Yes. All right, we got some comments here I want to jump into. Gerald Williams, what's up, man? We rolling. Appreciate you, Gerald, for being here. We got Sylvester Boston, agreed. Toys R Us and Kmart was the #1 spot for me. I think most of us, that's probably from a large city. That's how we got introduced. It was all retail.
Yeah. I mean, like, I do recall seeing one card store in my life, and that was when I was at Penn Treaty. And when you left Penn Treaty and you walked towards Girard Avenue, there was this one hobby store that was on the corner of like Girard where Penn Treaty was at on that main block. I can't even remember the street, but it was never open. So like we would walk by and see it, and we would look at the cars that was in the window, but we didn't have access to that store coming up throughout the week or throughout like non-school days, because, you know, just keeping it 100, people who look like me, we didn't go to that neighborhood, you know what I mean? Because there was a clear divide amongst like people. Not saying the whole community was like that, but what you saw and what you heard and my experiences, like I'm not going to that hobby store on like a random, you know, Saturday, you know what I mean? Like, so those moments as a kid, even before Penn Treaty and a little bit after, while I was still in the hobby, you know, my experience was Kmart and Toys R Us, you know, and like I still remember it to this day. Like we were going to Toys R Us in Port Richmond, and like they had this one section where all they sold was cards, top loaders, the 9-sheet plastics, packs of cards, everything, and it was that one moment like a glory where it's like Mom Dukes was like, all right, you can get some cards.
It was almost like a light shine from that section.
Yeah. And just ran over and was just like, I want baseball, you know what I mean? I want some NBA hoops, like basketball packs, or like if they had any of those like old 89, 90 Flair packs, like you can get your hands on. I thought I was on top of the world, you know what I mean? Like, so that was the experience, and it was something that I always think about, and even with my daughter, she is like into cards, quote unquote. Like whenever we go to like card stores, or whenever I'm in my lab, because I'm in my lab right now, when I look at my cards, she comes down and like hangs out with me and goes through cards, or like shows me some of her Pokemon cards or some of her baseball cards that she get when we go to like local hobby stores. And she was like, Dad, who's this person? And I like, you know, try to tell her who that person is and the significance of their career.
It's good that you all can experience that together, you know?
Yeah.
Very good. What we got here? Baker Boy says cars were to show off and trade at school until they got banned. I think back when you were talking about how you were trading your cars or showing your cars in the community.
Yeah. You know what? It was one, like in school, we didn't have no issues with like cars getting banned.
Oh no, not back when I was either.
No, because like the cafeteria was our meeting ground. So like we all couldn't wait to get the lunch. And even at the time, like the little POG things were out. And we were like play those games and try to like the little metal things and the little cardboard POGs, and you flip them over. We would trade those or like do battles. But cards were the focus, you know what I mean? Trying to get our hands on, like, during that time when I collected football, like Dan Marino's, John Elway's, like the top quarterbacks, or like the top wide receivers. you know, or everybody wanted a Deion Sanders card.
Everybody.
Bo Jackson. Everybody wanted Bo Jackson.
Yeah.
Reggie White, like the Eagles during that time, had the best defense in the league. Like, you know, Reggie White, Jerome Brown, like those players. Then in the 90s, where the 93, when the Phillies went to the World Series and Joe Carter hit that walk-off home run, like, you know,
I think
everybody
Ricky was on second base. I mean, Ricky Henderson was on second. Yeah.
So like, that was our stories, man. Like that's what we collected, you know. And but you know, at the end of the day, it was more like, because we didn't have vintage cards. Like I didn't like I said, the first vintage card I ever saw was that Hank Aaron card, 1968, and I actually wrote a blog about that. But like, our world was like those Skybox Jordans. The NBA Hoops Jordan, the Flair 90, 93, 94 league leaders Jordan with the silver back. Like, if you had that car in my neighborhood, you were the man. You had the top collection. And that's what, you know, that was our journey, you know.
Because it was really about what you saw. Like, all the players you named is what we were watching at the time.
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't about something that maybe happened 20 years ago, because you weren't around those kind of cars or doing kind of things. It was about what you saw on TV, what you could talk about in school. You're talking about Deion, Bo Jackson, Reggie White. These are the players that shaped and molded what we looked at as far as sports.
Yeah. Like, I didn't even know about, like, Ken Griffey when I was, like, coming, because we weren't watching Ken Griffey on TV.
Well, Seattle was a small market, you know. Seattle was,
But I watched Albert Bell. I had a ton of Albert Bell cards.
And Albert Bell played with that attitude too, you know.
Yeah. And Albert Bell was like the man, you know, collecting his cards. You know what I mean? So it's like, who else? Darren Dalton, Lenny Dykstra, like that Phillies team.
That Philly connection,
you know, I mean, we didn't really collect, like, we weren't throwing around Sixers cards back then, because during that time, Sixers was just
they were not good.
And we gave away Charles Barkley for Jeff Hornacek, and we drafted Sean Bradley. But we did love Manute Bol cards.
Okay.
It was something about Manute Bol, like, we collected his cards. But like, what we saw on television shaped our hobby collecting. Like, you spot on. Like that. Like, I saw Deion Sanders playing football and then going to play in
the World Series.
Series, you know what I mean? Like, Jose Canseco, like, we collected Jose Canseco cards because
I remember in high school. Now that you're talking about this, I remember in high school, Deion, him doing that kind of stuff, got a lot of people to play baseball in high school that I went to high school.
I mean, in my neighborhood, like, we didn't have the resources to play baseball because, like, the RBI program was just awful. But we had this Cruz Neighborhood Center where, like, the guy there, Mr. Brown, you know, he did a good job of, like, exposing us to baseball. And, you know, we all got into it. But I was the only lefty in my neighborhood. So I had to wear a glove on my left hand, catch the ball, take the glove off, and then throw the ball. So, you know, like, but, you know, that was the journey. You know, it taught us how to problem solve. It taught us how to do less with more. And, you know, that's what we brought to the hobby, you know, in terms of, like, once we started to understand, like, trading, and, like, I wanted the certain Michael Jordan from my boy who lived on Marshall Street or, like, 7th Street, we would get in Letlow, be like, all right, I'll give you my Ralph Sampson, you know what I mean? I'll give you my Patrick Ewing, like,
we'll give all
you
that.
know what I mean? Yeah, like, we just to have that one Jordan, you know what I mean?
MJ.
Because, like, cards was like scarce in our neighborhood, so it wasn't like every day we were buying packs, or we had the luxury to buy packs every day. So you built your collection through trading, and like fast forward to now after a global pandemic, going to card shows, and I remember I did my first trade night, and like I brought the house with me. I brought my '86 Jordan.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I brought vintage cards, everything. And I'm like, I want to partake in a true trading experience at the Philly Card Show. And like, everybody heard word that I had the '86 Jordan, so people were coming over talking to me. Like, one guy offered me like 10K. I was like, no. It's like, I mean, nah, I'm not going to sell a card.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing that stood out to me about the whole experience is the way kids navigate this space today versus how I navigated as a kid. I had this kid come up to me, show me this auto Kobe Bryant. Now, mind you, I had a ton of cards in my collection, like, you know what I mean, like that I was showing off. And I was like, all right, let's make a trade. And he's like, nah, this card, my value is like $1,300. I was like, damn, kids really trying to make money today.
Oh yeah.
And like, there's nothing wrong with that.
And they know the market. They know value. Yeah, they know how to negotiate.
I salute kids for like being young entrepreneurs, but there's another reason why I do what I do with the hobby experience, because I also want kids to understand the beauty of the space and everything that it has to offer. And there's a part of this space that I feel in my experience that is worth more than money.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the value that I think at times that is overshadowed by the amount of wealth that, you know, navigates or that gets spread around in this space. And I always said, and I even said this to like the people that I talk to in my circle, when it comes to cards. Like, there's gonna come a time when like all this big money that's happening in this space is gonna go away. And what's going to be left is the people who truly love collecting cards. So I was like, we have to ensure that these kids who are collecting now, who got into collecting during this boom, because a Jordan that sold close to $1 million, or a Luka that sold for 4.6 million, or a Trout that sold for this much money, we got to make sure, like, the same way old heads will pull our collar and kick game to us and talk game to us, we gotta like instill that same game into kids, and not like discourage them from making money, but see the value, the totality of the value in this entire space, because that's what's going to keep the money there, and that's what's going to make it lucrative for you, because people spend money with people who create an experience and people who make them feel a certain type of way.
Mm-hmm. And that's more than just a transaction.
Yeah. And I only spend money with people I have a connection with, or like I have a legit experience with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've been at card shows where I've gone up to tables or people who had good cards that I was interested in, and the vibe wasn't there, or like the eye contact, or like anything that makes that transaction, like, not saying you got to put me front and center, but like have some cohesion with me, like have some like energy with me, like vibe with me for a second, tell me about the card, talk to me about the card, you know what I mean? Like, don't just tell me a price. Like, obviously we all here to like buy cards and you're here to make money, but I'm sure there's more to you and to this. And yeah, those people I don't spend my money with. I'll go to the table right next to that and somebody will say, hey, you remind me of someone, or like, what do you do? I see the way you're dressed. You know, tell me your story. I was like, oh, let's have this conversation.
Then instantaneously, that's a different experience, right?
Yeah. So, you know, that's why I do what I do. And like also want kids this generation to understand to see the value in every card. Because every card is connected to a personal experience at some moment. I can go into my collection right now and pull out a junk wax card that's probably worth 1 cent. But I guarantee I wrote some hobby blog about it or had some moment with it or it reminded me of a collecting experience that I had as a kid, and it's so much more valuable than the monetary price that's put on.
Like for me, right? Whenever someone says hoops, I think of the David Robinson rookie card.
Oh yeah,
When I hit a brand name hoops, that's the first card I think about. Now that card was a lot of that card was produced. There you go. A lot of that card was, and then you got the other variation of him at the draft or at the press conference holding the jersey.
I got that one too.
Yep. So whenever I hear the name hoops, that's just me. I think of David Robinson.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of those cards that you have in a good grade, they're not worth a lot. But it was about the story of David Robinson coming out of the Naval Academy. Some people don't fail to realize this. Some people thought he never played in the NBA.
Yeah.
That was a process there to get him out of the Naval Academy, get him into the NBA, and then how he started developing over time. From the time he started to the time Tim Duncan came. But that's just me. Whenever I hit a name Hoops brand, that's like David Robinson, man. It's just, Then the Jordan cards and all that are the next connection.
Oh yeah.
Because those cards were,
those cards in my neighborhood, like, it was sort of like bragging rights. So, like, at Ludlow, if you ain't have a Jordan card, you wasn't a part of the conversation. Like, you were still a part of the conversation, but you wasn't a part of the conversation. It was more like, yo, young boy, go get your weight up.
That's
know what I mean? Like, you got, and that's why we built our collections through trading. And it's like, you know what I mean? So, like, once we understood, like, when sets would come out or when, like, certain packs would come out, like, that's how we started to build our collection. Like, we understood that side of it. But
and you would check the checklist and see what's in Series 1 and Series 2.
Yeah.
And you knew you may go to a retail store and there's a lot of Series 1 on the shelf, but you really need them cards in Series 2. I would ask the store manager, when is this stuff coming out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that was our hobby experience. You know what I mean? And oftentimes I think back to, like, man, I missed out on so much as a kid when I was collecting in a hobby because I didn't have those experiences. But it was one of those things. We made the best with what we had, and now as an adult, I get to do that, and I get to share those moments with, my daughter, and we have a lot of fun. Whenever we go to, like, local card shows or, like, our local hobby stores, the moment she walk in, like, she takes over the whole room. You know what I mean? And it's fun to, like, be in that moment with her because I don't care if she collects cards, but what I'm showing her is you can be passionate about something. You can showcase your passion about something, and it's okay to, like, be unique in your passion. Like, even now when I, like, think about, like, the content, like, I don't even like to call myself a content creator. I tend to say, like, I'm just providing an avenue for people to see cards differently and enjoy.
Yep.
I'm not trying to influence someone to buy something or to, like, use this product, but just another way. Like, there's moments I sit in my lab and I just think of creative ways to, like, how can I showcase a 1990s card, or how can I showcase this vintage card, or, you know what I mean? And or like, oh, I remember this moment I had with this card. Let me write this story and share this story. And I just try to be authentic in that and showcase my true self as a collector. But make sure like the human capital side of it is authentic and true.
Yes, sir.
And then I just have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah,
You
man.
know,
Right.
like what my wife asked me like, why you collect cars? I'm like, because it's fun. Like she's like, I never knew you did that. I was like, yeah, because like when I was a kid doing it and like life happened, I like walked away from it. And I never really like talked about it to anyone. And like now I can really like talk about it and unpack those layers and then also like through collecting, like, you know, I've addressed like some traumatic moments I've had in my life.
It can
You
work
know
like
what I
that.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't see it going away anytime soon. And I
Neither
mean,
do I, sir.
yeah. I
Neither do
like I've never sold a card since I got back into the hobby, but I give away a ton of cards.
I.
And I give away good cards. Like anybody can check my Instagram and see the cards that I give away. Like I give away like cards straight from like my collection to kids, to other collectors, uh, you know, because I know what it feels like to be in this space and the smiles that I get when I go to a hobby store and I find a card that brings back a memory from my first hobby run or like creates a dope moment between me and the store owner or some collector there where they're telling me a story about a certain car or teaching me some game about certain vintage sets that I should keep my eye out on. And I'm like, oh man, like if I have a double or like a triple, I'm like, I'm gonna make sure I give this away to somebody because they might have that same moment. I want them to have that same moment as well.
And then also from what I've
Yeah.
heard so far, it ties back into how you came into the hobby.
Yeah.
You know. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hero 3 off to 5,000. Working to get there, Hero 3. I appreciate everybody's support. Go ahead. I don't want to cut you off. Were you about to say something?
No, I was just in the moment. I was just vibing in the moment. I was just thinking about like I tend to like think about like there's times when like I would be like thinking back to my first hobby run about like certain cards I had or certain cards that I wanted. And those are the things that like keep me motivated and keep me like in this space. And like creating more content per se. And just trying to like connect with others and learn from them and enjoy their experience. Those are
That's
my
really what it's
takeaways.
all about to me because no one
Yeah.
knows everything in the hobby.
No.
So the more we talk to each other and share ideas, share our backgrounds and our stories, and then we start understanding what overlaps, what similarities we have. Like, you know, Philly and Chicago are not close. You know, you got to travel to get there. But there's some things you're talking about that I experienced.
I tell people, I remember I was getting recruited by this school in New York. And like during the interview process, they asked me about like, will you be able to like connect with the kids? And I'm like I'm from North Philly. Kids are the same. Only thing different is the landscape. You know what I mean?
That's
but
right.
like the rituals are the same. The teachings are the same. What we go through are the same. It's just that, you know, sometimes we might deal with different people, you know, and that's what I see the hobby is. And I also think the hobby can be a space to cure a lot of ill wills in our society. You know, I'm a black male educator. I work in a predominantly white school. Prior to working in predominantly white suburban school, you know, I spent a lot of my career in the inner city serving, you know, my community and the various communities, various neighborhoods within my community. And, you know, being in that space and like thinking about like concepts like dignity and human capital and being a window and mirror, being a mirror for kids who look like me, but also being a window for kids who don't look like me, even through collecting cards. I've had conversations with students in my building, and they've asked me questions about like, how long you been collecting, Mr. Evans? Or like, tell me about your card. Or like, I remember when I got my Jordan rookie, I brought it to school and I showed it to like all the kids.
Ooh,
And
if
they
I was
went
in your
crazy.
class, yeah.
They went crazy, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
I think if done right, the hobby can help us address a lot of our complicit and implicit bias.
Because at the end of the day, right, what you're talking about and what the truth is that we're sharing history, right?
Yep.
It's American history. It's what we're sharing.
Yep.
And it's our
Yep.
take on that as we're growing and seeing grown men do things athletically, how they carry themselves on and off the court. I know as a kid, I was picking up on all that. What is the post-game press conference like? How much can you learn from that as far as how this person is addressing multiple people at one time, how they're answering questions? I picked up on all that. So when you have children in your class, or I meet young people when I'm out, we're now sharing our different scope on history. If we're talking about from LaMelo Ball, Michael Jordan, Oscar Robertson, whoever it may be, Jim Brown, whoever it may be, we're talking about history right there. My father would tell me stories about like Jim Brown when he was in college and how they would listen to the games on the radio and all that. It's just a scope of history right there.
And those type of deposits like break down barriers. They break down stereotypes. They break down how we see each other.
Yep.
They create understanding. They allow us to thrive in uncomfortable conversations or be comfortable in uncomfortable conversations. They help us get a better understanding of the world, whether we agree with each other or disagree with each other. And I think the hobby can play a role in that space. And I also think the hobby suffers from like the good old boys club. There's people who still want to be in control of it and in charge of it, and navigating this space as a black man has been interesting. And a lot of the conversations that I've participated in Clubhouse and just a lot of conversations that I've had in general about like, I tell people like, I'm an educator. I have a trained eye to see like inequity and what it looks like, feels like, and sounds like. And like even in these spaces at card shows, like there's times when I'm like the only black person in the room. You know what I mean? And like,
oh yeah,
I intentionally in my own practice, like I have this thing on like my content schedule where like I showcase my slab of the day. I do it, on Thursdays. And I go to various like neighborhood courts throughout my city and other communities, and I take a picture of the card on the court or the baseball field.
Okay.
And I do it intentionally because, like, one, I want people, especially kids, when I'm in like certain neighborhoods, I want kids to see that and get intrigued about it, or like have their curiosity peak and like, hey, what's that? What are you holding? Oh, this is a card. Like, you know what I mean? And like when we think about things like access and like making sure the hobby stays young and making sure like kids of all backgrounds can participate and engage in this space. Like, I think the people who are in charge of the hobby need to recognize like, how can we truly sustain the hobby and making it more equitable? And what can we do to make sure not only our target market can enjoy it, like older guys like us, but
really
that younger
everyone.
generation,
Yeah.
or kids who aren't exposed to it, like a kid like me being 12 and 13 years old, I had to walk away from the hobby. How can we get those kids involved into the hobby so that way they can keep their innocence, so they keep that purity of being a kid and being in engaged and in tune to this space. And I think it's so much untapped potential and like figuring that out. I know the answer to it. But I always wonder, like, do people care? You know,
I wonder that as well,
yeah.
because we told stories here about going into retail and kind of how we got introduced to some things. If a child now is 8 to 12, 7 to 12, and they don't have a LCS by them, they don't know what a hobby shop is. I remember a point in my life, I didn't know what a hobby shop was.
No, I had no recollection of it.
I never walked into one.
Yeah.
But I still was collecting cars. So if in today in 2022, 2023, where does that child go? Maybe their family income, they can only buy certain cars. So, but those cars are near and dear to them. Where does that child go? He or she, where they at? If they like WNBA, where do they find those cars? Or if they like soccer cars, female soccer team, male soccer team, where do they find those cars?
No, you bring up a good point. There was one day I was sitting in my living room, and I told myself, man, if I didn't love education, like truly love what I do, I would leave it and work in this industry, because a lot of what I do as an educator, I can easily transfer it to this industry and be successful in it in terms of like understanding target marketing, understanding sustainability, understanding like engagement. Like that's what I do on an everyday basis in terms of trying to get like kids to engage in their own learning and deepen their own learning. And I think sometimes because of social media and because of like the glitz of like, oh, I found this one-on-one and I got all this money, a lot of those other things get lost in terms of like just seeing the value in this whole space in terms of like high-end cards, low-end cards. Like I think there's value across the board throughout the space. And I think often we're all living in this one side of like clickbait world, from like Drake to the Logan Pauls to all those people. And I tend to avoid that, and I tend to like want to connect with the everyday collector.
As do
I want to learn. I want to learn from I want to learn from like. I hate to call them random, but I want to learn from the everyday collector that's not in the limelight.
Man, there are some people you can bump into at a show that has such a background and a story to tell, and some cars that they have that are near and dear to them, that these people would never create content. Or, but they want to have a conversation.
Yeah.
And if you talk to them, and it's not like you got someone stopped me at the Mint here in California, and they said, "Well, FD, I love the way you promote diversity in the hobby." And I thought quickly about that, and I said, "Well, I appreciate your feedback, but let's do a 360 right now." Him and I, we did a 360 right, standing right there. I said, "Everybody that you see on my show is in this show right now."
Yeah.
I'm not cherry picking people, right? They're right around us right now.
Yeah.
So that is the hobby, right?
Yep.
And in certain parts of the country, you may see more diversity or different types of collectors from sport or anything, but people are here.
Yeah.
Right.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think we miss out when we don't make the hobby diverse. I think we miss out when only one group or that percentage of people want to control the economy of language, or control the narrative, or control like what's hot and what's not. And for me, I see the value in everyone and in every card. Like my 1952 Orestes Minosta. The first time I saw that card, I was in a local hobby store in Media, PA, and I still like knock myself for not buying it that day. But when I purchase cards, it's a vibe. You know what I mean? It's like the moment, and you know, it wasn't the moment to get it. And you know, one thing that I learned about coming back to this space is just one, speaking things into existence, being patient, and like waiting for the right moment, because in that right moment you can connect with someone that you never least expected, or you make a connection with someone that you never least expected. And the day I saw that car in a hobby store I always go to, and I know the owner, like we know each other on a first name basis. There's times where I go to the store and I don't buy anything. We sit and talk for like hours. And I missed out on it. And I was in another hobby store that I normally go to on the weekends, just to like, you know, connect with the old timers there. You know, they're like funny older white guys who, like, you would think like, man, these guys like learning like where they grew up at. Like they grew up in parts of North Philly that like I frequent that. They tell me stories about people who they play high school football with, or seen play basketball with. So like even that moment of like walking into the store the first time and being the only Black person in the store, I felt like, all right, I gotta like figure out how to navigate this space. But they were extremely welcoming. You know, they wanted to know who I was and what I was about, and not in a way to like pry, but in a way to like what brings you to the hobby and what brings you to the store. And you know, I always go there with my daughter, and you know, they know her on a first name basis. And I was in the store that day and I was talking about Orestes Minosta, and I was like, man, I missed out on his 52 rookie card. And in my opinion, like I know everybody drools over the Mickey Mantle card. It's a great card. It's a holy grail card. But when you look at the Orestes Minosta 52 Topps card, it's gorgeous, man.
Yeah, man, it's nice, man.
And just the story of who he was as a player and everything that he had to go through, and then his longevity in the major leagues.
Coaching, doing all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unbelievable player too. Could hit the ball, everything. And like the owner was like, I actually have a 52 mini Minosa. I'm like, are you serious? And he gives me the card. And it's a beat up card, but it was just a joy of like, man, I got one of my grow cards. And that's the uniqueness about the hobby. Like, to the people who really understand it and beyond that like top 10%, this is a space for everybody. And you can create your own avenue in your own lane. Like, yes, there's the top 10 Grail or the top 5 that everybody wants. But the hobby is also a space where you can be your own all-star. You can be your own MVP. And you can create what you think is great for you. And you can determine that value for that card. And there are people who might not agree with you, but I guarantee you're going to find like 20 to 30 other people who will, or even more. And that's the uniqueness about the hobby. And oftentimes there are people who try to be gatekeepers, but you can't. You know what I mean? You think you can, but you really can't. And to me, that's the beauty of this space, and getting a card like that 52 Topps and having it in my collection and creating content about it and hearing people's stories are hearing that, yo, this, I resonate with this card because of this or because of this moment. Like, that is priceless. You know what I mean? So, like,
hey, I'll tell you my Minnie Mendoza story. I'm at a show years ago, and I came close to getting his autograph.
Wow.
And this is one of the that I look back on a few things. It was like 3 or 4 things that I mean, I'm like I was young, right? So I'm like, I wish I would have made a move on that. So you start thinking like, I'll see him next show.
Yeah.
And that just never happened.
Yeah.
And then being from Chicago, his significance with the White Sox.
Oh yeah.
Like people, he gets all my respect. I mean, the stuff he went through playing, his contribution to the game for years. He's a special player to me, man. When you talk about him, I get fired up because he is he's a testament to baseball, you know.
And that's the beauty of like collecting cards, right?
Yeah.
You peel back those layers of not only like having a prized possession, this card that you hold near and dear to your heart, but like the story of the person, the story behind the stats, their journey, everything. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Utterly amazing, man. Talking about many, that gets me hyped.
Yeah.
Got Mark Ingo here saying we're rolling. Brendan, listening to the story, says I feel the same way about J.R. Richard. Great and tragic story. Let's go back to some of these other comments here. Make sure I'm not missing a lot. We got some funny stuff going on here. Now that I'm reading. Timothy says, do I sell my 3 PSA 9 top space Curry rookies to pay off my new hot water heater? Or do they have more room to grow? Not desperate to sell, just think it would be neat. And then there are several comments here about keep one Curry and put others to that hot water heater. Baker Boy, who loves Curry, says selling Curry for water heaters. I think he says something about only happens on Rolling with FD.
Wow.
Yeah, that's funny. But Timothy, I would just say, whatever you think is best. You know, if you're not desperate, pay for the water heater. If you want to sell something to kind of help with the payment, that may be good too. But Baker Boy knows that Curry cards are going to the moon. So, you know.
Yeah, I got a couple of Curry cards. I don't have none of his rookies, but I have some of like his like year 2 and year 3 and year 4 when he still got like that baby face.
Yeah, baby face.
His cards are dope. I got a nice little Curry collection. The way I organize my cards, like I have for basketball, I have from the 1940s all the way to the way I organize them to like 1999, and then I do from 2000 all the way to like now. So there's like my junk wax era cards,
okay,
and then there's like my contemporary cards, and I do the same thing for baseball. But then I have a bunch of slabs and stuff. I'll actually show you a card that I really like, and I think it's so underappreciated or underrated that I don't hear a lot of people talking about it.
What is that? Oh, that's a nice card, man. That's a nice card. Yeah,
it's one of my favorite Kobe's.
That's a nice card. Let me ask you this, right? Because I've asked some people this weekend at a few shows. What's up with the Kobe market on cards, man? It seems to be like almost like a roller coaster, right? You see stuff go up, you see stuff come down, you see stuff going back up. Where do you see Kobe's market going?
So I hate to say this, I'm not the one to like ask about like the card market, because like part of me like loves it, but also part of me like despises it. Like the learner in me, the lifelong learner in me loves it because it's intriguing. It's another way for me to learn about numbers and understand, you know, the longevity of collecting. The person who hates it is like, man, I think this can also be a detriment to the hobby because people are placing a monetary value on cards as opposed to like the experience that the card provides them, or the moment that the card can create for them. So like sometimes I'm like looking at Card Ladder and looking at all those different things, but my brain isn't wired that way because at heart I'm a historian. Like that's what I taught, and I tend to like forget that stuff. You know what I mean? Like I think personally, to have any Kobe card in your collection is valuable. But I also understand, like, you know, the people who invest in his card, they want his most like rare cards or his rookie cards.
Yes.
Like I found this card at a store the other day, and like when he got drafted, I was somewhat like still in the hobby, but I wasn't like really like in the hobby. Like I still love cards, but I didn't have cards.
Okay.
I saw this card.
Oh, that's nice. Die cut people. Yeah, that's nice, man.
Yeah. His slam dunk champion card.
Yeah. That's you don't see that card a lot.
No. I actually prefer bald head Kobe because I think he was fearless. He was a beast.
Had an attitude, had a swag to him. Yeah.
Like he didn't care who was on the court. Like
tried to dunk on everybody he could.
Yeah, like that Kobe was a monster. That was the Kobe like as a kid growing up in Philly when he came back to the States. A lot of people don't know this. Kobe almost went to Simon Gratz High School.
Oh, okay.
Rasheed Wallace was at Simon Gratz.
That's right. Yeah.
I
even know about
so
Simon
can you
Gratz.
imagine, like, Simon Gratz won
the
Simon Gratz won the national high school championship for a couple of years when Rasheed Wallace was there. So can you imagine, like, them two potentially could have been on the same high school team together?
It would have been crazy.
I don't think no high school team in the country would have beaten them.
No.
I think them two together would have beat a college team.
We got Mark Engel. Mark always gives Mark gives his own perspective, right?
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with it. I love it. That's why I bring it in here. Kobe is slightly better. T-Mac, never really been impressed. I hear that.
I'm a fan of T-Mac.
So am I.
Like, playing high school basketball, like, I used to emulate him a lot. I had all his Adidas, especially when because there was one time when, like, he was like the face of the league, you could argue.
He was, yeah.
You know, and he put Orlando on his back. He was scoring a lot of points.
Put Houston on his back.
Yeah. And I have a few his rookie cards.
Yep. Oh yeah. Okay.
But I also have his metal rookie card, and my favorite rookie card of him is his NBA Hoops card.
Okay.
I actually have that, and it's graded, it's somewhere with my like slabs. But he was another person that was legit in high school. He was like, even though like when he came to the league, him and Jermaine O'Neal was like similar. Like even though like they were like phenoms in high school and they came to the league, they didn't play right away, but you knew like it was any given moment.
Yeah, it's coming. At some point, it's coming.
Yeah. Like even another high school player, and that was like around my time when I was playing high school basketball, Mari Stoudemire. I got his rookie card. It's graded PSA Gem Mint 10. I actually wrote a hobby blog.
I always wonder what
upper deck one
without the knee injury. What would he have been?
Oh yeah. And like I remember going to this local hobby store, and every week I would look through like the slabs, and I would always see this Amari Stoudemire sitting there. And I was like, damn, I was like, don't nobody respect Amari Stoudemire? You just gonna disrespect Amari like that? And I just went and told I told the owner, I was like, I gotta buy this card, man. To me,
All right,
Amari's a beast.
he was something else.
He's a beast.
He was something else. You know, recently he was coaching with Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he recently, the last couple of weeks, just stepped away from his position.
Wow.
Only based, I think some people try to say he didn't like Steve Nash, but it was only based upon his religious beliefs and his commitment to that. But he gets all of my respect as a player. When he hurt his knee, I thought that day when I saw the replay, because I was at the game when Blake Griffin hurt his knee. And I thought both of those guys are not going to be the same.
No, he definitely wasn't the same.
No, not going to be the same.
I felt bad for him. I felt bad for him.
But he's been in a good place. You know, he recently, well, when Kobe passed away, he was overseas playing ball. So he's had a career outside of the NBA. And he seems to have his head together.
He's intelligent too. He's intelligent.
Very much so. Yeah, very, very much so. Has things in place as far as what he wants to do and why.
Speaking of
what you got?
Speaking of like great players.
Oh, Will. Oh man. Especially coming from Philly. I mean,
it's beat up, but it
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful, wonderful car. I mean, Will is he's an exceptional player, man. I think and what's crazy about his career is that he doesn't have a lot of film on when he played. I think
he don't have a lot of cards either.
No, I think he's more dynamic.
Not have a lot of cards
than what people give him credit for. Like you think of Will dominant dunking, all of this, that, and the other, but he had a fadeaway off glass that was.
Oh yeah, he was shooting the Dirk Nowitzki fadeaway in the 60s.
That's right, in the 60s, bro. One leg off glass, running down the court. Yeah.
I think a lot of people disrespect him when they say he's not a top 3 player of all time. Just my opinion. I think he's top 3.
You know, I think a lot of players, like I got Will top 10, but I think a lot of players of that time who don't have a lot of film, and I'm just going to say that most people don't go back.
No, this film on him, the NBA just don't want to show it.
Oh, I'm not surprised. But people don't historically look back at stuff. A lot of people, from the time they were born and forward, is what they look at.
Larry Bird once said, if everything in the world ended and aliens came back to Earth 1,000 years later and they discovered basketball, but there was no film, it was just documents and record books, they said Wilt Chamberlain would be the greatest player.
Can't dispute it, man. He's special.
And then another person who I love, and I collect a lot of his cards, and I think his curse and how Philly treated him while we're struggling to get over this hump right now is Moses Malone. I think a lot of people on these pyramids disrespect Moses Malone.
Yeah, they do.
I think he's a like when you look at those pyramid tiers, they put him down at the very bottom. I think he's got to be in the top 3 tiers. You're talking about a dude who won 3 MVPs, who was the face of the league, came out of high school. He took the best, arguably one of the best centers, and made him look average.
Let me ask you a question. This is something that's always on my mind. When you find players that speak their mind, they're vocal about what's going on around them or what's in the league or whatever it may be. It seems like to me, now I could be wrong, right? Just FD's humble opinion. In the annuals of history, a lot of times those people don't get talked about.
Yeah.
Well, Moses Malone is one of those people who they're quite vocal on many different things that were important to him.
Yeah.
Doesn't get talked about.
Moses was a beast. And I hate how the Sixers treated him. Now, like I was 1 year old. I was just being born when right after the Sixers won that championship. And like one day when I like during my first hobby run, like when I pulled my first ever Moses Malone card, NBA hoops, I had no idea who this guy was. And my sister's boyfriend at the time, like, gave me the history of him.
Mhm.
And like when I got back in the hobby, the first cards I started buying, all Moses Malone. And the day I got his rookie card, I was on cloud nine. You talking about a dude who can do it all: rebound,
Mhm.
push the ball up the court. And I always tell people, I was like, reason why Philly ain't making it, we got to forgive Moses Malone, because
True.
without him, Dr. J would have never won a ring
True.
in the NBA. Dr. J always got to the promised land, but he couldn't finish.
And you know, when you talk to Charles Barkley, one of the first people he
Yeah.
mentioned is Moses Malone.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I was watching this documentary, and they was talking about that, because a lot of people don't understand that team after they drafted Barkley, like they had Mo Cheeks,
Mm-hmm.
like Julius Erving, Moses Malone, Andrew Toney, like Bobby Jones, like all those guys, and they didn't win. And they said in this documentary, they traded Moses Malone to make more room for Charles Barkley.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, Moses Malone should have retired a Sixer. And he should have a statue somewhere in this city.
Because you remember that team was aging. They had won
Yeah.
a championship. Barkley came in. They were getting older. Barkley was there trying to get an answer to how do we continue to win.
Yeah.
They moved Moses Malone.
Yeah. I was like, man.
He's a player.
That's Philly for you.
Smoothness 1000 says, "Where are your Dr. J cards?"
Oh, where are my Dr. J cards?
I knew it was nothing but a question.
I mean, I got a ton of Dr. J cards, but this is my PC Dr. J.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, the 81 tops. Yeah.
Also got the 80 tops too.
Mm-hmm.
That's a numbered card. And then this is probably my favorite card.
Oh, 86 sir. Yeah.
Yeah. And then hold on.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Second team. ABA All-Star. Yeah. Virginia.
I mean, this is rookie insert, quote unquote. Whatever how you want to call it.
Yeah,
I'm still looking.
It was moving.
I'm still looking for his rookie card, but you know, it'll happen one day. It'll happen one day.
Yeah, that happened.
It definitely happened.
You definitely
I
already knew this, though. You keep a level of organization there.
Oh yeah, I got. I mean, if I can move my phone around, I got stacks of binders, like old school, like 90 way.
Yeah.
Like when we put everything in binders and the sheets. I got slabs. Here's another Dr. J. Some people probably don't.
Is that a star card?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Now
nice.
this is an authentic star card. This is
Nice
not
star.
a reprint.
Very nice.
And then, I mean, but this is the crown jewel of them all.
Oh yeah, the MJ.
Yeah.
Hey, you got a lot of star, man. Ooh, yeah. Historic cards.
I got and this is probably my favorite Wilt card.
Oh yeah, Conquistador.
He didn't play that year, but there's some other Wilt. I got this graded too. Wilt didn't have a lot of cards, but the ones I do have of them,
Very nice.
Special
Very
card.
nice.
Also got the 54 Jackie Robinson, 55, 56 Jackie Robinson. I got a bunch of cards.
Damn.
There's some junk wax stuff.
Yeah, Shaq's rookie year.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Nice.
Also, I mean, I got to show you the Kobe. I got this graded too.
That's very nice.
Yeah. What else I got?
What is Kobe?
Some,
people in Philly, what do they think of Kobe now? Is Kobe still? Do they claim Kobe?
Yeah, we've always. I mean, we've never not claimed Kobe.
You remember that All-Star game, right? Where he got booed?
Yeah, that's because everybody always wanted him to be a Sixer.
Oh yeah, they did. Oh yeah. Oh,
this is probably my favorite rookie card.
Mm-hmm. Spencer Haywood. He represents a lot in the history of the NBA.
Yep. There's a year 2 Kobe.
Yeah. Yep.
I got some stuff.
Well, I can tell.
Here's something for the modern folks.
Oh, that's a nice car, man. Yo, get in the house.
Yeah. I mean, I still think MB was the MVP, but that's my opinion. What else I got over here? I got.
Oh, okay. Rookie Durant. All right.
Yeah. I got some stuff. Here's a.
Oh, Jeter rookie. Oh, wow. Nice.
That's the goal right there. What else I got over there? This is my. Now we talk about like growing up in a hobby, like you collected who you watch. For some reason in Philly, we always got Atlanta Braves games. And during the 90s when like Atlanta was always in the World Series and couldn't win and they finally won one.
Oh, Chip. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, that's a beautiful rookie card. I think it's underrated.
You don't see that one too very often.
No. I got some tobacco cards.
What year is that?
It's 1911, 1910.
Okay.
Got some 48 Bowman.
Very nice.
I went through this phase where I bought some Jermaine O'Neal cards too.
Okay. Oh, I can see why. You know, he told a story recently about how he was ending his career with Miami, and they wanted him to stay at a certain weight. And he said it was very difficult for him at that point in his life to stay at that weight, eat certain things. So he told Miami he wanted to trade. Oh, these Dr. J's are nice. Very nice.
Pop 96 right here.
Mm-hmm. You don't see either one of these.
Low pop too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, you know, the granddaddy of them all.
Griff. Yep.
I didn't learn about this card until I got back into the hobby.
I've learned more about it in the last 3 years as far as how many were produced, why Upper Deck went to a hologram on the back, just a bunch of stuff.
I was in Virginia when I bought that card.
Okay.
Then these were the hit when we were coming up.
Oh yeah, they were. Yeah.
And I got the subgroup ones too, the one with the different language in the back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I got some cards. You want to see some classic junk wax stuff?
Oh yeah, come with it. Oh yeah, I remember these. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like Bo Jackson. I mean,
Yep.
I got some Bo Jackson rookies. But then here's the one I was telling everybody about.
Oh man, that's a nice card.
This card is beautiful. Beautiful cards, man.
A lot of history there, sir.
What else I got over here? For the folks who
Oh yeah,
my
Tatum.
Celtics folks.
Who you going with?
Who
you got in the finals, man?
So here's the thing, right? I went to school in Boston, and you know, I was the only, like, on my campus, I was like the only Phillies fan there. So when I was watching NFL, and I haven't watched the NFL like in 8 years almost, a long time. That's my own little personal thing. I don't even collect NFL cards. It's one, not because like I just don't understand it. Like, it's too many players.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not my speed, and like
Mm-hmm.
there's no attachment to football for me because one, I didn't play it coming up. I mean,
Okay.
so, but this one's hard for me because, to be honest, I wanted the Heat to go to the NBA Finals.
Okay.
I just think Jimmy Butler was playing. He was a man amongst boys at sometimes, and
yeah, the night he had 47,
yeah.
he was controlling what was going on.
Yeah, and I hated how Philly just let him walk away for nothing. But if I had to pick, I mean, I think the Celtics are the dark horse of the series because, you know, this team never been there before.
Yep. Yep.
You know, so how are they going to respond with the lights on? You know, but I don't know. I think it's going to be hard for them to succumb and overcome. I think it's going to be hard for them to overcome Golden State's like experience, the way they move the ball, and just how they respond under pressure.
Mm-hmm.
That team is different, just in my opinion.
Yeah, Smoothness says Tatum and Brown have to limit the turnovers and be consistent scoring. Both at some point, sometimes will disappear from a scoring perspective. But you know, it's all about getting to a certain place and then getting that experience. First year go on. Like, I went back and looked at some highlights from 2015 of that. When they first beat LeBron in Cleveland, Kyrie in Cleveland, none of them had experience. It's about getting in and getting experience. So
it's crazy how it's this meme that's making its way across social media about like KD and Kyrie, how both their former teams are in the NBA Finals.
I saw that today. 3 years later, both of their former teams.
I got caught up into that clickbait. Here go a card that I'm waiting on. I'm going to be sending.
That's numbered, right? What's the number on that?
Yeah, 16 to 25.
Wow, you don't see this, man. Yeah. Nice Embiid signature. Young Embiid. Yeah. So these medals have become more and more popular. Yeah.
The A-Rod.
Yeah. Is that
Barry? Barry Bonds.
Barry Bonds, yeah.
Johnny Damon.
Very nice. Everybody knows those medals eat very hard. Look at that. Yeah. Very nice.
Wayne Gretzky.
Those are hard to find.
I actually met this guy in real life, and he gave me autograph card.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Where'd you meet him at?
It was when I was in school. I want to say like in Philly. He was like, I don't know if it was like book signing or like he was a visitor at our school in Assembly, but we learned about like the first black hockey player.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like giving out autograph cards.
Very nice.
And just so happened to get one.
That's a nice.
Yeah, so I've always had that and kept that. But yeah, we got to do this again where I can show you.
Well, you know I want you back. Yeah.
My collection.
Oh wow.
This car is beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
And then
Tank. Very nice.
Yeah. I got some here's a card that I think you might appreciate.
John Odom. John Odom picture. What's his background story though?
I don't know much about him. I just love the
from that team. I know Vita Blue. I know Vita Blue well. Let me look up John Odom. He played for 12 years. Oh, wow.
This is 1911 Mecca double fold. So there's like two players in one card. This is like the first time they put stats on the back of a card.
Yeah, I've never seen anything from that series before. First time.
Yeah.
I
got some beauties, man. Like when I got back into the hobby, I had this mindset that like, oh, I want to have the premier collection, the best collection in the world. And as I like really started to like unpack what this space means to me and what collecting means to me, I don't even think about that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to connect with people and use cards to tell a story.
So let me know. Tell everyone out there, how often do you go to shows and what shows do you go to?
So I go to a lot of local shows in my area, like the Fishtown show, the Philly show, like just small shows that might pop up at like local malls.
Okay.
I'm planning to go to nationals in Atlantic City this year.
Okay.
Definitely want to meet a lot of people that I've been connecting with on social media, so I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, it's just that's my space. It's trying to be in that space and learn from people and connect with people and, you know, continue to build my collection through like buying cards, but definitely want to like engage more in some trades. I've done a few trades, but I would love to do more trading.
Okay.
Just to promote that more. Often you see people who's like, yeah, I'll trade this card, but you know, I want to make some money too, and I don't mind helping people make money, but I definitely want to see trading. If I had one wish for the hobby, I definitely want to see more trading in the hobby. But I understand how difficult it could be simply because of the monetary value that's connected to cards. So you want to get what the card is worth, and I respect that. You know, so.
Yeah, I've been trying to understand more about taking raw cards to a graded card.
Yeah.
And then going from there. Been spending more time on analyzing raw cards. Yeah. Either stuff I have from the past or even stuff that I'm buying in the future.
Yeah. I have a ton of raw cards.
Yeah.
I have a lot of graded cards. I have a ton of raw cards. Right now for grading, the only place that I'm grading my cards through is SGC. I did my first submission, and I was nervous. I was super nervous. I did it with some tobacco cards that I got.
Okay.
So, you know, the reason why I did it, I was like, I need to fully experience the hobby, right?
Yeah, see, that's
Talk
what I
about
want to
like
do.
the hobby experience. So,
Yep.
um,
Yep.
like right now, I'm won't do PSA. I just don't trust the process with them. And I just don't like the customer service. And I will buy a PSA slab, but I won't send cars there to get graded because I just don't know when I'm gonna get them back.
Understood.
I haven't done Becky yet. I definitely want to try them. I would love to try PSA in the future. I know some people who are authorized dealers that you know, I go to their store and they say, you know, let me do a PSA grade for you just so you can see what it's like. So I'll think about it in the future and probably do one of my vintage cards. But I did have one card that someone got graded for me. I have a 65 Tony Perez rookie card.
Okay.
I'm gonna get it for you. So I still don't understand how this card is
What's the grade on it? It's a 5?
a 5. I mean,
Looks pretty sharp, pretty crisp.
yeah. I don't know. Whoever graded this card, they must have had like a bad day. Every person I've taken this to who's like quote unquote like an expert all said they don't understand how it's a 5.
Yeah, looks pretty clean.
So, but this is one of my favorite like rookie cards. Actually got I think for all the Mickey Mantle fans out there.
Oh wow. Very nice, man.
Yeah. I got some good ones.
Yeah, what you
Got
showed
some
is like very unique and personalized.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
it's not a cookie cutter collection at all. This is
Nah. But that's
you,
the great thing about the
that's
hobby.
what I'm saying.
You know?
Yeah, you showing me stuff that I don't see it. I don't see that. I don't see these cards
Like,
a lot.
I did a hobby blog about like my like when I got my Jordan, my 86 Jordan. I put together my list of like my top 10 list of like Grail cards,
Mm-hmm.
my Grail cards. I'm like halfway there. And like there's a lot of people who like celebrated that, but then there was some people like, what about this card? What about this card? Like,
I think whenever you create a list, it throws that into people's imagination. Like, what about this?
Yeah.
What about that?
Well, like, I mean, yeah. I'm also like realistic. Like, I feel like there are cards that I know I can get, right? And there are some cards that I'm like, I'll probably never get my hands on that card. And that's okay. And if it happens, it happens, you know?
Yeah, I feel that same way. I feel that's the exact same way.
Yeah.
There are some cards you may not ever get, but
yeah.
Throughout the process, there will also be some things that will shock you and I that you never thought you would have, and it's presented right here in front of you.
Yeah, like my 86 Fleer set that I'm building, I'm 6 cards away from being done. You know, and I mean, I got the card that everybody wants in that set. You know, I got the sticker, I got the base. I'm missing right now. I'm missing Karl Malone, Magic Johnson. Who am I missing? Karl Malone, Magic Johnson. I actually got it on my index card.
Oh, I know you
I need 7, 26, 53, 64, 68, and 124. And you know, it's crazy. Like, that's why I believe so much in human capital, and like what you put into this space, you get out of this space. And I just refuse to sell cards. There's times like people reached out to me on Instagram and like, how much for that card? And I'm like, you don't got to pay me. I'll send it to you. I'll give it to you. Because I understand, like, there's a reason why you're asking me for this card, because it's connected to a personal story. Like, I sent one of my rare KG rookie cards to this dude in Chicago for free. I was like, you don't got to give me anything. You told me your story and why it matters to you, and it's yours. I can always get that card back.
Yeah.
And I just believe in good karma, because my 86 Flair set that I've built, like, I've spent some money on it, not a whole like ton of money, but a lot of the cards that I got in that set, people sent them to me. And that's the beauty of this space.
That is.
You know, as collectors, we all understand what it means to build sets. We all understand the etiquette of this space. And sometimes making money is more than about making money. And, you know, like I had this guy, he goes by the name of Stagger Daggers on Instagram. He's a card artist. He sent me Dominique Wilkins, Flair 86 card. I was like, thank you. You know what I mean? And
nice
wrote
card.
me a note. Yeah, beautiful card. So, you know, I that's what I just believe in the hobby. You know, you get from this hobby what you put into it. And if you are authentic, you take the time to learn from others, you honor people's dignity, you treat them with kindness, you're fair to them, you know, sky's the limit.
One would say old school principles of human interaction.
Yeah.
Stuff my grandmother talked about, father talked about, mother talked about, her aunt talked about. And it's 70 years later. These people learned this, still talking about it. Does not go away.
No. Facts. Straight facts.
That's why when you go to shows, that's why I love shows so much. Because when you go, you get to talk to people and learn something. There's not one show I go to, I'll learn something about people or about cards. Not one.
When I go to shows, this is my pattern. Excuse me. When I go to shows, before I buy anything, I walk the room.
I walk the entire show. Yep.
I walk the entire room. And I watch who's looking at me, and I watch people. And then after I walk the room, I chart my path to who I want to see. And that's how the journey begins. That's how, like, the conversations begin, the connections are made, and you start to understand the people behind the cards. You know, like this guy I connected with at the Philly card show when I was building my Flair set. I was looking for a Spud Webb card. Couldn't find it nowhere in the thing. He tracked me down in the card show and handed me the Spud Webb card. He was like, I just bought it for you. I was like, here, let me. It's like, no. Your friendship, that's all I need.
You know, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I'll say this to everyone. When we first started the channel, right? People were offered to send me stuff that they knew I was really a fan of, right? And like I would say, until we got probably to 200 subscribers or so, I'll be like, nah, I can't take that from you.
Yeah,
you know, I can't do that. And then we kept talking here as a family. Like, I had to embrace this is the community.
Yep.
This is not anything else. This is the community. And I think when I wrap my head around that, like the story you're telling right now, that's the community. Anybody out there that's listening to this, that is a community. That person doesn't want anything back from you.
Nope.
It's probably almost an insult to try to pay them. They
Yeah.
they know your story. They know why you're doing what you're doing, and they want to be a part of that themselves. And that's their way of being a part of it.
Facts.
I had to wrap my head around that, Sam.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy for me up front, but now I'm fully I understand that that's what this is all about.
Well, I appreciate you, brother.
I appreciate you, sir.
It's 10:45 my time.
Yeah, I really appreciate you.
My hall pass is running out. So
you know we're gonna have you on again, Sam.
Yeah, I got to get back to reality. But to everyone who tuned in, I appreciate you. And you know, if you don't follow me, just follow the hobby experience and just find a way to really enjoy the human capital of this space, because it's beautiful, it's intriguing, it's inspiring, and it creates a lot of memorable moments, not only for you but for the people you experience it with, and that's the simplicity of the hobby.
I'll say this before we go. When I came across your page and started listening to your story, even before we ever talked, this was months before I ever had a conversation with you. I knew you were someone that I wanted to talk to and learn more about. Your story is very intriguing to me. And I think your voice is strong in the hobby. And I just wanted to be someone to kind of talk to you more and introduce you to some people that may not know you, or people know you. Hopefully they learn something more about you, because people like you, Sam, are special in the hobby.
I appreciate that.
Very
I
special.
appreciate that. That means a lot.
And there's going to be a time that we're able to meet each other in person. I look forward to that. But we'll definitely be back on here to talk more about many different things. But I just appreciate your time today.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate us connecting. And it was random how we connected, because I confused you with someone else.
Yeah, it's all good.
You know, I appreciate you for not saying like, I know we black, but we don't all look alike. You know what I mean? But
it's all good. It really prompted me, because I had talked here about calling you anyway.
Yeah.
When you sent me that note, it prompted me to get to that conversation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But no, I appreciate you. I thank you for the time. Thank you for allowing me to be on your platform. And I'm just looking forward to continuing this journey, and really sharing the hobby experience. I got a lot of cool projects and ideas that, you know, I want to work on, and that's the educator side of me. So, you know, I'm looking forward to connecting with you and bouncing ideas off you, and
I love
sharing this,
sharing
this space with people who collect and people who don't collect.
Yes, sir. Well, Philadelphia and Chicago represented today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Even though we're not going to have the great debate of what city is the Mecca in terms of basketball, we can save that for another conversation.
We can save it for another one. I got to give Philly respect on the game of basketball and the history of basketball.
Yeah.
But you know, GOAT talk comes through Chicago.
I mean, there's a clip. There's a clip of Kobe Bryant.
Yes.
God rest his soul. He was playing in the Drew League.
Oh, I remember. Yeah,
a spectator said something, and Kobe went bananas, and he said, "Repeat the list." He said, "Me, Wilt, Mike." So when he said that to that person, that lets me know Kobe understands that one of the greatest was right here in Philadelphia.
That's right.
So
I can't dispute that. Yeah.
You know what I mean? He said, repeat the list. Repeat after me. He said, me, Wilt, Mike. You know, so But you know, I used to have this same debate with one of my good friends from prep school. He was from New York, about like just the mecca, like what city is the true mecca of basketball? Who produced the best talent? And you know, oftentimes coming up, the other two cities we always heard about was New York and Chicago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
Oh, you talk about Earl the Pearl. You talk about Kareem,
Yeah.
Lou Alcindor,
Black Jesus. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, you talk about Black Jesus, man. They, you know, it's serious.
I mean, Gene Banks, who first McDonald's All-American ever, the first true high school like phenom athlete, you know, during that era, where like, you know, rankings and everything was coming out. I mean, Sam Bowie from Pennsylvania, Lebanon guy, got picked up. Michael Jordan, you know, it's always the joke of Pennsylvania.
Well, you know, teams still go big man first, and
yeah,
you see how that happens over the history of basketball drafts and everything. So,
well, I always say this: if you look at, and we'll end it with this, if you look at every NBA championship ever won, with the exception of Michael Jordan and Golden State, every championship ever won was, and probably Detroit to a certain extent too. Every championship was won through the hands of a dominant big man.
True. That's true.
You know what I mean? So,
and you can only say like a player like a Michael Jordan and a few others can negate the need for a big man.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's rare. So you can see why a team would take a Sam Bowie and leave Mike in that green room.
Yeah. Well,
Sam, I appreciate you.
Portland is still trying to recover from that.
Still trying to recover. And then Greg Oden came. Still trying to recover.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate everyone. Thank you. I appreciate you, brother. It's been a pleasure. I love the organic talk. I learned a lot about you, and I learned, you know, how we intersect in so many ways. So I'm looking forward to continuing to build our, you know, connection as collectors and sharing it with the community. So I appreciate you.
All right, brother. You have a good one, man.
Thank you.
All right, sir. Talk to you all soon.